Hi everyone, welcome back to Oh My Yarn's YouTube channel, and in today's video, it will be part 2 of our business series focusing on sourcing and production. So if you're interested to learn more, please keep watching. So if you've already watched our first video for the business series, you might already have a plan or you've already come up with an idea of what type of business you want to do. Now, one of the earliest stages of you actually starting to work on that plan or the business is sourcing and production. Now, depending on what type of business you want to do, you would have to do either only sourcing or sourcing and production. But in any case, it's important to know both of these so that you'll be able to grow your business further in the future. So we'll start with sourcing. Now, sourcing is the process of you looking for a supplier or a store for you to get inventory from. If you are a business selling products like us, we have supplies. Your suppliers would be either different brands of the said supply. So if you're into art materials, it could be different paper manufacturers, pen manufacturers, brush manufacturers, or like us, some of our suppliers are local like Monaco and Manila Bay Threads, or international such as Tulip and Pony. In any case, you have to find a supplier that carries products that are fit for your business plan and fit for the audience that you want to have, and at the same time it also fits with the whole brand of your company. So if you want to go for high quality products, then obviously you would start sourcing for products, for name brands, for those that are more premium. At the same time, if you are doing a service, like if you decided to open up a business which is more on the made to order side, you would have to source your materials. So this includes your tools, the raw material for your product. So if you're crocheting or you're knitting, it could be your yarns, your hooks or needles, and other accessories for your products. Right now, one of the biggest places that you can look for suppliers is on the internet. And you can do this two ways. You can look for the supplier on your own using Google, or if you like browsing through Facebook or Instagram, you can find different stores and brands that may allow you to carry their products or sell their products. Or if you are making products, you may have preference of the materials that you want to use. So then you will have to search for those products locally or import them by yourself from abroad. At the same time, you can also find suppliers through recommendations. You can post on Facebook regarding products that you're looking for, and maybe you can get leads as to where you can get them. Either way, the internet is a really powerful tool for you to start sourcing. So it's best if you're able to utilize it and utilize it well, because a lot of transactions nowadays are online, and it would be helpful if you get used to using the internet and benefiting from it greatly, because there's a lot of information out there that you will be able to use. Now, some tips in sourcing. Me personally, when I source products, especially for the Oh My Yarn brand, if I'm not familiar with the product that my suppliers are offering me, I would first ask for a sample. Now, for international suppliers, it depends on your agreement with them, but most of the time they would give you a price, a discounted price for the items, and then they will ship it to you via air freight, which is a little more expensive, but since it's still your sample, so it's usually just in a small box, it won't be as expensive as importing by bulk through air freight. But at the same time, it's still a cost that you have to shell out, because what if you don't like the products? What if that's not what you were expecting? So there's really a lot of costs that come in when you start sourcing your products online. Now, before the whole pandemic, it was easy to just go into a store and source products, or if you have the um, capacity to, you could go abroad and source the products yourselves. But right now, we're very dependent on the internet, so expect additional costs when you have to source your products, especially if you want to see them and feel them and try them out for yourself first. You can also find suppliers by referrals from other people. If they have a good experience with a certain brand or a certain company, they may be able to refer you and give you a contact details of the person that they're talking to, and it might be easier for you to transact with them directly rather than have to wait a long time if you go through their normal customer hotline or customer email. But I would not recommend relying solely on the referrals of other people, because then you might have a tendency to close yourself off to other suppliers. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's always good to keep looking for new products to add, because the more that you go out there and you start sourcing stuff, the more you learn about the craft also. You would start to find inspiration in other products, and then who knows, you might be able to find something that's unique that can also be used in your craft that other people aren't aware about. So I mean, that's a plus point for you, because then you'd have something very unique, and you can introduce that to your own clients. Personally, I prefer sourcing products by myself. I rarely look for suppliers through referrals, because I want to be able to find my own supplier who carries a wide variety of products for me to choose from, and at the same time, I don't limit myself to just having one supplier, because I want to be able to have a lot of different products to offer. Because if you get from only one supplier, you're limiting yourself to the products that supplier has. So if there are other products that you want to try, don't be afraid. You don't have to have just one supplier for everything, because it limits you, it limits your own brand. And at the same time, what's gonna happen is, especially if you are selling materials, it kind of feels like you are just reselling from that brand or from that company. And while that's not exactly a bad thing, you are limiting the growth of your brand. When I'm sourcing for my products, I have two considerations, and that is the quality and convenience. First of all, quality. I think it's a no-brainer. I prefer having products in my shop that are of good quality, because as I mentioned in previous videos, and I'm very vocal about this on social media as well, I find it hard to sell products that I myself don't believe in and I myself don't enjoy, because I feel like you aren't getting the most out of your money from these products. And sometimes I do consider having cheaper alternatives, especially for crochet hooks, because our current selection is quite expensive. But so far, I haven't found any that fit, that I'm comfortable selling. So it depends actually on what type of products you want to carry. But for me, one of the considerations that I have, and the reason why I prefer having product samples sent to me, is so that I can check the quality of the product and I can try the product first before deciding to carry it. Next is convenience, because while it's alright to have multiple suppliers, it's a waste of freight. It's a waste of freight cost if I have to purchase just one item from this one supplier and get another item from one supplier. So if I can find a supplier that has more than one of the products that I'm looking for, then it's great, because I get to consolidate all my shipments from them, and it's cheaper for me and it's more cost effective. So I can't just keep spending so much money on freight, because that would drive my item prices up higher than they already are. So those are two considerations that you might also want to look into if you are sourcing your products. Now, if you're looking for materials for a service, or if, for example, you are an artist and you design products and you want to sell merchandise such as stickers or t-shirts, tote bags, all that type of stuff, you also have to look for a supplier that can produce these goods for you. So that's also part of your sourcing. You would have to look for a reliable printer or a reliable manufacturer for your merchandise. And one thing that you can consider for this is, first of all, their lead times, because if you have ready-made products, it's easier for you to be able to produce more and at a faster turnover rate if they are able to accomplish your order in a shorter period of time. Proximity to you is something you may also want to consider, because if you are only purchasing a small amount of items, it might be really expensive for you to get it shipped all the way from a different part of the Philippines to you, as compared to if you found a supplier who is in the same city as you. Aside from sourcing materials, products, and other services that you want to outsource, you may also want to consider looking for suppliers for your tools. Especially if you are in a business wherein you have equipment that needs consistent refills. If you need printer ink all the time, or if you have a tendency to go through a lot of needles and you lose your needles like I do, you may want to consider finding a reliable supplier as well for the tools that you need that need replenishment. So that's also part of your sourcing. Of course, after you source your materials or your products, you would then go on to actual production. So if you are in the service side, if you're making made to order, then that would include you creating products from the materials that you sourced in order to add them to your catalog. If you're doing made to order, I would really recommend that you try out your desired pattern product first with the materials that you bought, rather than grabbing photos off the internet and using that for your catalog, because it makes it easier for you to check how much material you would actually be using, and at the same time you can also see if the material that you sourced, the material that you got from your supplier, is fit for what you're actually making and what you plan to sell. At the same time, if you use your own pictures for your catalogs and the posts, it makes it easier for people to see what they are going to expect. Because if you grab a picture off the internet and you use it in your catalog, people might get the wrong impression. They might expect exactly the same thing. And what if you can't produce it exactly like that? Because of course we have to factor in that it might be made from a different material, and everyone has their own different unique translation of how a pattern can be made. So you really have to start producing product samples in order for you to use it in your catalog. Aside from that, creating the samples will also help you figure out how much your product will cost you, because you would be able to know how much material you used up in creating that product. So in production, you have to calculate your cost of materials, also how long it took to make that same item, and it also helps you figure out your lead times. So if you're offering everything made to order, it allows you to get a quick view of how long it would take you to finish one order. Of course, you have to put allowance also on the time, because if you're able to finish it in one day today and it's not your full-time job, what if tomorrow you have something else to do? So you have to really put a buffer for when you will be able to deliver it to your client. If you are doing merchandise, like if you're making stickers or notepads or other paper goods, or if you are doing materials like me, like tools and supplies, this stage would not necessarily mean you actually making products, but you doing quality check on the goods that your supplier has delivered to you. So this could include you adding your branding, your own packaging, like how you would present your products, your tags, your stickers, your logo, as well as if you will be bundling products together. This is the stage where you do that. This could also be a stage wherein you decide how you will package your product. So me personally, I don't put too much effort into the packaging, like design wise, because especially during this time, I feel like since we do a lot of online shopping, there's a lot of waste going around, and of course we have to wear masks all the time, so not everyone is comfortable with reusable masks. Or if you do use reusable masks, there's also filters inside, so it adds a lot to the waste that we currently are producing. So while I appreciate some shops that I purchase from that have lots of layers of aesthetic packaging, I sometimes feel bad if I have to throw it out because I really don't know how to reuse some of the packaging, and sometimes I just feel bad that I have to throw out so much nice packaging that I can't reuse or I have no use for anymore. So currently, our packaging is only in eco bags if for pickup, or we use the courier pouches from JRS. And then for fragile materials, we would put them in recycled bubble wrap. Now, not all my bubble wrap is recycled. It's just that recently we've been getting our groceries from online, and a lot of those groceries came with a lot of bubble wrap. So instead of just throwing out the bubble wrap, I usually cut it without. I open my packages without damaging the bubble wrap, and then I cut it so that it opens nicely. And then when I ship out my products, I make sure that if it's a pretty big piece of bubble wrap, you would also be able to reuse it. Of course, we disinfect it. We disinfected a lot. If you saw my Instagram stories, or if you follow us on social media, you would see that we have a lot of disinfecting materials. So don't worry, even though the bubble wrap is reused, it's been thoroughly disinfected. Aside from the basic packaging, like how you would ship out your products, so our eco bag and our mailers, you may also want to consider other add-ons that you want to add into the order. So for me, the thank you card is not just an aesthetic thing, it's actually pretty functional because I use it to tag the orders that I'm packing. So it makes it easier for me to know if it's for shipping or for pickup. And if it's for pickup, it's the tag that I use for the staff to identify which one the rider will be picking up. That's why the names are always written on the card. Aside from that, I've also added sticker freebies just as a little token because I enjoy having stickers, so I guess I wanted to share it with you guys. So yeah, that's part of my production process. Aside from that, you could also consider the different packaging types for your bundles. So for me, we created the needle sets, and part of the production process for me as a supply store is repacking the needles. Since in the physical store we don't sell it in retail, you have to buy it in big packs. I decided for online we could create sets for the needles so that people who don't want to buy just one size in a big quantity will be able to use it. So that's just part of our production process because it takes a while to be able to package them like that as well. So under production as well, you may also have media production, which includes you creating content for your social media sites as well as for your website. So for me, that just includes taking product pictures as well as content that we post on our Instagram and Facebook. Now, you don't need a lot of fancy equipment for this. You can use whatever you have at home. Before, I used to use just my phone camera. So yeah, just the phone camera, the normal built-in camera app. But when I got my camera, I started using that just for better photos. As for editing, I wouldn't really recommend adding too much filters, just so unless that's part of your branding. But if you're producing photos that need the specific color to be displayed, like for me, some of my yarns, I need to have them in a certain light to be able to capture the photo for the website, especially since people will be choosing from that catalog. I do use minimal edits. I edit on Lightroom, on the Lightroom app, just to adjust sometimes if the natural lighting is uneven. Another tip is that you don't need big studio lights. I don't use big studio lights because I don't have big studio lights. So I just usually take pictures in front of a big window where a lot of natural light comes in. It gives me a better light, especially if I'm shooting just on auto mode, and it's able to give better color saturation on my products, because I find that sometimes if I shoot the yarns under artificial light, it comes off in a different way, and I have to edit it too much that I don't like the way that it comes out. So yeah. Another edit that I would recommend though is that you put watermarks on your products, or as well as in your pictures. It's very important because you would want people to identify that photo as yours. That's your intellectual property. You own it. You have copyright over it. In my case, I have a certain way of how I take my pictures that even without the watermark, you would be able to tell that it's my picture. But the watermark, especially with my logo being so yellow, it helps people identify that photo as mine in case some people grab it, which they did before. So it makes it easy for people to report to me that my photo is being used without my permission. And if you are selling on Shopee, I really do recommend that you put a bigger watermark, because there have been cases recently that overseas stores are using photos from local sellers here in the Philippines. So it would be safer if you're able to put your watermark in the center or on top of your actual product, even if it doesn't look that good, just to be able to mark that photo as yours, because it's hard to have your photo used by other stores without your permission, because it might bring problems to you in the future if people think they've been scammed by you or what, you know. So yeah, it's best if you are able to add watermark into your pictures. Another optional thing that you can add is product information. Now, before our website, I used to put all the information needed in the pictures just so it's easier for people to see. Because sometimes if you're scrolling on Facebook and your caption is long or your description is long, people don't get to see it while they're scrolling because it gets cut and it displays just see more, so that they won't be able to see all the details that you want them to see. So sometimes I put it into my picture just so that it's more accessible to them. So yeah, that's the end of our second business series video, which is sourcing and production. If you have any questions or if you have comments relating to this video, you can leave them in the comments below, or you can send it to us as a message on any of our social media, Facebook and Instagram, which are linked below. If you like this video, you can give us a thumbs up and subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you know when we upload our next video. You can also shop some of our products at ohmyyarnwith2hs.com. See you in the next video!